massive space station hung in the darkness like a glittering jewel. It was bigger than most moons, with countless lights dancing across its surface. This was the Grand Assembly, the heart of galactic politics, where the most powerful alien races made decisions that affected billions of worlds. Inside the main hall, creatures of every shape and size gathered around a circular chamber. Some floated in special tanks filled with strange gases. Others stood on multiple legs or hovered using advanced technology. The air buzzed with tension as translators worked overtime to convert thousands of different languages into something everyone could understand. Commander Lee, Jay stood quietly beside Ambassador Parkhana at the human section. They were the only two humans in a room filled with hundreds of alien representatives. Lee Jay kept his face calm, but his military training made him notice every exit and count every potential threat. Parkhana looked relaxed, almost bored, as if this was just another meeting. At the center of the chamber, High Arbiter Vexital rose from his crystal throne. The tall, translucent being's body sparkled with internal light as he spoke. His voice echoed through the hall without needing any technology. "We gather today to address a serious threat to galactic peace," Vexital announced. "The species known as humans has become a problem that can no longer be ignored." A massive screen appeared above the chamber, showing star maps with red dots marking human colonies. The dots spread across 47 different star systems, an impressive expansion for such a young race. War Chief Gorthak stepped forward. The reptilian alien was twice the size of a human, with scales that gleamed like metal armor. His yellow eyes focused on the human representatives as he spoke. "These humans appeared barely 300 years ago," Gorthak growled. "Yet they have spread faster than any species in recorded history. They refuse to share their technology. They deny access to their homeworld. They act like they have secrets worth hiding." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Many aliens nodded or made gestures that meant the same thing in their cultures. Prime Intellect Zeph spoke next. The machine consciousness appeared as a shifting geometric pattern that hurt to look at directly. "Our calculations show human expansion follows no known pattern. Their ships use technology we cannot fully understand. Their military strength appears limited, yet they show no fear of superior forces." More evidence appeared on the screens. Images of human ships that looked simple but moved in ways that shouldn't be possible. Records of human diplomats who always seemed to know more than they should. Reports of human colonies that appeared overnight in places no one thought could support life. "They are dangerous," declared Ambassador Krell, speaking for the Void Consortium. "Their unpredictable nature threatens the stability we have worked thousands of years to build." High Arbiter Vexital gestured for silence. The chamber fell quiet except for the soft humming of life support systems. "The evidence is clear," Vexital announced. "Humanity poses a threat to galactic order. Therefore, the Council has reached a decision." The crystalline being's internal light grew brighter as he continued. "Humanity will submit to protective custody. You will surrender all military vessels. Your colonies will be administered by Council forces. Your people will be relocated to designated worlds where they can be properly supervised." The words hit the chamber like a physical force. Some aliens looked satisfied. Others seemed uncomfortable with such harsh terms. All eyes turned to the human representatives. Parkhana stood slowly. She was a small woman compared to most beings in the room, but something about her presence made everyone pay attention. "And if we refuse?" she asked simply. War Chief Gorthak's laugh sounded like grinding metal. "Then you face the combined fleets of 7 major powers. 50,000 ships against your pathetic 200. Even humans cannot be that foolish." The chamber erupted in sounds that served as laughter for dozens of different species. The idea that humans would resist such overwhelming force seemed absurd. But Parkhana just smiled. It was a small, mysterious expression that made several aliens shift uncomfortably. "I see," she said calmly. "Well, this is certainly an interesting proposal. However, such a major decision requires consultation with Earth Command. We will need 72 hours to provide our response." High Arbiter Vexital's crystalline form flickered with surprise. "You wish to delay? Your situation will not improve with time." "Perhaps not," Parkhana agreed. "But surely the Council can spare 3 days after taking years to reach this decision." The aliens conferred among themselves. Whispers and electronic communications filled the air. Finally, Vexital nodded. "Very well. 72 hours. But understand that this delay changes nothing. The combined fleets are already moving into position around human space. When the time expires, you will surrender or face the consequences. Park Hana bowed politely. Thank you for your patience. Commander Lee J and I will return to our ship to send the necessary communications. As the humans prepared to leave, Prime Intellect Zeph projected a final message. Your known fleet strength is 200 ships across all colonies. Our combined forces number 50,000 of the most advanced vessels in the galaxy. Logic suggests only one possible outcome. Logic is indeed important, Park Hana replied. I'm sure everyone will find the final outcome quite logical. The two humans walked through the massive corridors of the station toward their docking bay. Other aliens gave them space, some looking at them with pity, others with curiosity about what these doomed creatures were thinking. Only when they were safely aboard their small diplomatic ship did Commander Lee J speak. Ma'am, they're not bluffing. Long-range sensors confirm massive fleet movements. 7 different armadas are taking positions around our territory. Park Hana settled into her command chair and activated the ship's most secure communication system. I know, Commander, but they're about to learn something very important about making assumptions. She entered a series of codes that Lee J had never seen before. The communication system activated protocols that didn't appear in any manual he'd studied. This is Ambassador Park Hana to Earth Command, she said into the transmitter. Priority Alpha message. The Council has made their move. Authorization code Legacy 774, she paused. Then added the message that would change everything. Grandfather's collection may need dusting. The transmission ended and Park Hana leaned back in her chair. For the first time since entering the council chamber, she looked truly relaxed. Ma'am? Lee J asked carefully. What happens now? Park Hana smiled, and this time it wasn't mysterious at all. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret that would soon shock the galaxy. Now, Commander, we wait for the family to wake up. The small shuttle moved through space toward Earth's moon, its hull painted to look like a regular cargo transport. Commander Kim Dong sat in the pilot's seat, checking his clearance codes for the 3rd time. To anyone watching, he was just making a routine supply run to the mining facilities on the moon's far side. But Kim Dong knew better. He had been keeping the secret his entire life, just like his father and grandfather before him. Today, that secret would finally be revealed. The moon's surface looked normal as they approached. Mining equipment dotted the landscape, and workers in environmental suits moved between the various installations. Everything appeared exactly as it should. That was the point. Kim Dong guided the shuttle toward Landing Bay 7, which looked like any other docking facility. Only when the massive doors closed behind them and additional blast shields slid into place did the real security begin. Identity confirmed, announced a computer voice. Welcome home, Commander Kim. The shuttle descended through what seemed like a simple elevator shaft. But the journey took much longer than it should have. They were going deep, much deeper than any normal mining operation would ever need to go. Finally, the shuttle emerged into a vast underground chamber that stretched beyond what the eye could see. Lights activated automatically, revealing the truth that had been hidden for thousands of years. Ships, hundreds of them. Thousands of them. Arranged in perfect rows like sleeping giants. Some were small, no bigger than the shuttle Kim Dong had arrived in. Others were massive, larger than the space stations that orbited Earth. And these were just the ones he could see from the landing platform. Admiral Cho Wan waited at the docking platform. The old man looked exactly like what he was, a retired military officer enjoying his peaceful years. But his family had been guardians of this secret for 400 generations, and today their watch was ending. Commander Kim, the Admiral said, shaking hands. I trust the council meeting went as expected? Yes, sir. Ambassador Park sent the activation code. The aliens gave us 72 hours to surrender. Admiral Cho Wan smiled. 72 hours. How generous of them. They walked together through corridors carved directly from moon rock. The walls were lined with displays showing the status of thousands of different systems. Everything was green. Everything was ready. How long has it been since anyone was down here? Kim Dong asked. 6 months, the Admiral replied. We run regular maintenance checks, of course. Can't let grandfather's collection get dusty. They entered a large briefing room where several other people waited. Kim Dong recognized some faces from the secret meetings he'd attended over the years. Others were new to him. Dr. Bae Su stood at the front of the room. She was younger than most of the others, but her knowledge of history made her invaluable. On the wall behind her, holographic displays showed star charts that covered not just their galaxy, but several others. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Besu began. Today we reveal the truth that our families have protected for 12,000 years. The star charts changed, showing the expansion of human civilization across time. But the timeline didn't start 300 years ago when humans supposedly first reached space. It began 12 millennia in the past. Humanity has been spacefaring for over 12,000 years, Dr. Besu explained. Our ancestors built fleets that explored not just our galaxy but dozens of others. They established colonies on millions of worlds. They developed technology that modern aliens cannot even imagine. Kim Dong stared at the displays in wonder, even though he'd heard pieces of this story his entire life. Seeing it all laid out was different. The scope was incredible. What happened? Asked Captain Yoon So, a young officer who had only recently learned the family secret. Why did we retreat? Why hide? Dr. Besu touched a control and the display changed to show a cosmic event. A massive star explosion that sent deadly radiation across thousands of light years. A gamma ray burst, she explained, one of the largest ever recorded. It sterilized entire sectors of space, destroyed hundreds of our colonies, and threatened to wipe out human civilization completely. The room fell silent as they absorbed this information. Our ancestors had a choice, Dr. Besu continued. Fight a losing battle against cosmic forces or retreat to safe worlds and wait for the danger to pass. They chose survival. Engineer Nam Ho stepped forward. He was the youngest person in the room, but his family had maintained the ancient ships for centuries. The fleets were hidden in locations like this, Nam Ho explained. The crews were put in stasis. Automated systems maintained everything, while the galaxy healed from the radiation damage. Only a few families stayed awake to guard the secret and wait for the right time. Admiral Cho Wan activated another display, showing the current state of the hidden fleet. 2,847 ships, he announced, from small scouts to massive dreadnoughts. Every single one is operational and ready for service. The images were breathtaking. Ships that looked like floating cities, vessels with armor that seemed to absorb light itself, weapons arrays that defied understanding. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering that made current human technology look primitive. The flagship is the Eternal Vigil, Admiral Cho Wan continued. 15 kilometers long with weapons that can crack planets and shields that can stop stars. It has been waiting for this day. Captain Yoon So raised her hand. Sir, why now? Why reveal ourselves after all this time? Dr. Besu answered. Because the galaxy is ready. The radiation has cleared. The alien civilizations have developed enough to be potential allies rather than threats. And most importantly, they're making the same mistakes our ancestors once made. What mistakes? Kim Dong asked. They think military power alone determines who rules, Admiral Cho Wan replied. They've forgotten that true strength comes from wisdom, patience, and the willingness to protect rather than conquer. Engineer Nam Ho activated the awakening sequence. Throughout the vast underground facility, lights began coming on. Systems that had been dormant for centuries started humming with power. In the deepest chambers, stasis pods began their revival cycles. The crews? Captain Yoon So asked. Volunteers from the original colonial fleets, Nam Ho explained. They chose to sleep until humanity needed them again. Today they wake up to find their descendants facing the same challenges they once overcame. Admiral Cho Wan walked to the main window overlooking the shipyards. In the distance, the massive bulk of the Eternal Vigil was beginning to move. After 12,000 years of sleep, the ancient flagship was coming alive. The aliens think they're dealing with a young, weak species, the Admiral said. They see our 200 modern ships and think they understand our capabilities. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Throughout the facility, ancient systems activated. Weapons that had been silent for millennia began charging. Engines that had once carried humanity across the galaxy prepared to move again. Shields that had protected entire civilizations powered up for battle. Kim Dong felt a chill as he realized the scope of what was happening. The aliens thought they were threatening a minor species with limited resources. Instead, they had challenged the descendants of the greatest spacefaring civilization in galactic history. How long until the fleet is ready? He asked. Engineer Nam Ho checked his displays. 6 hours for basic systems. 12 hours for full combat readiness. The crews will need time to adjust after their long sleep, but the ships themselves are perfect. Admiral Cho Wan smiled. Then we have plenty of time. The aliens gave us 72 hours after all. As if summoned by his words, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. The main display activated, showing space around Earth's solar system. "Sir," reported a technician, "we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout human space. The alien fleets are moving into attack positions." "Let them come," Admiral Chowan said calmly. "It's time the galaxy remembered who its true guardians are." The ancient fleet was waking up, and with it, humanity's true power was about to be revealed. High Arbiter Vextel's crystalline form flickered rapidly as emergency reports flooded in from every alien fleet. His advisors moved frantically around the council chamber, trying to process information that challenged everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. "Sir," reported his chief analyst, "our fleets are requesting immediate orders. The human ships are not attacking, but they've made it impossible for our forces to advance or retreat." War Chief Gorthak's voice crackled over the communication system. "Council Command, this is Gorthak. My fleet is trapped. These human ships are using some kind of gravity manipulation to hold us in position. We cannot move without their permission." Similar reports came from all 7 alien fleets. The humans had not fired a single shot, but they had effectively captured 50,000 ships without violence. Ambassador Park Hana watched the alien panic with calm interest. "High Arbiter, would you like to discuss terms for the withdrawal of your fleets?" "Terms?" Vextal's voice was strained. "You speak of terms when you hold our forces hostage?" "Not hostage," Park Hana corrected. "Protected. Our ships are preventing your fleets from doing something they would regret. Consider it a favor." Commander Lee J activated new displays showing the true scope of human activity throughout the galaxy. Ancient monitoring stations, hidden research facilities, and patrol routes that had operated undetected for millennia. "Your species," Lee J explained to the stunned alien representatives, "have been under human protection since your first steps into space. Every major conflict that ended mysteriously, every aggressive species that suddenly disappeared, every technological breakthrough that came at just the right moment, that was us." Dr. Bei Su's voice continued broadcasting from the ancient fleet. "The Krellian Empire nearly destroyed itself in civil war 800 years ago. Human intervention prevented the conflict from escalating. The Void Consortium faced extinction from a plague that targeted their biology. Human medical technology shared anonymously provided the cure." War Chief Gorthak listened to these revelations with growing shock. The great plague that had nearly wiped out his people. The cure had appeared mysteriously, delivered by unknown ships that vanished as quickly as they came. His people had assumed it was divine intervention. The collective's expansion into the Forbidden Zone 70 years ago, Dr. Bei Su continued, was halted when their bioships began malfunctioning. Those malfunctions were caused by human systems designed to protect the zone from contamination. The collective's hive mind representative processed this information with horror. The Forbidden Zone contained the most dangerous weapons in the galaxy, artifacts left behind by a warlike species that had destroyed itself. If the collective had continued their expansion, we would have been annihilated, the hive mind admitted. The biological weapons in that zone would have turned our ships against each other. Captain Park Jin, aboard the archaeological vessel Memory Keeper, began transmitting detailed historical records. The displays showed every major galactic event of the past 12,000 years, but from humanity's perspective. "The Balance Wars 3,000 years ago," Park Jin explained. "Your history says they ended in a stalemate when both sides exhausted their resources. The truth is that human ships destroyed the planet-killer weapons both sides were preparing to use. We let you believe you had reached peace on your own." Prime Intellect, Zeph's computational matrices struggled to process the implications. Query: how extensive is human surveillance of galactic affairs? Commander O'Min aboard a ship called the Silent Watcher answered. "We have detailed records of every spacefaring civilization. We know your population numbers, your resource production, your military capabilities, and your political structures. We've been maintaining these records since before most of your species achieved spaceflight." The alien representatives sat in stunned silence as they realized how completely their privacy had been an illusion. They had thought themselves masters of a galaxy they barely understood. "The question now," Admiral Chowan announced, his voice carrying across all communication channels, "is what happens next. For 12,000 years we have followed protocols designed to protect and guide without direct interference. Those protocols are now obsolete. He paused, letting his words sink in across dozens of species. Your attack on human colonies has forced us to reveal ourselves. We can no longer operate in secret. Therefore, we must establish new protocols for open contact. High Arbiter Vextal found his voice. What do you propose? Admiral Cho Wan's response was transmitted to every ship and every world simultaneously. We offer 3 choices. First, we can return to the old system. You retreat to your territories, we disappear again, and we continue protecting the galaxy from the shadows. What's the second option? Asked Ambassador Krell from the Void Consortium. Open alliance, Admiral Cho Wan replied. We reveal ourselves fully, share some of our knowledge, and work together as partners. Your species continue to govern themselves, but with human guidance and support. War Chief Gorthak, still trapped in his ship by human gravity fields, asked the obvious question. And the third option? The silence that followed was more terrifying than any threat could have been. Direct administration, Admiral Cho Wan finally said. We dissolve your current governments and take direct control of galactic affairs. This would be unfortunate for everyone involved. Captain Yoon. So watched from the bridge of the Eternal Vigil as alien commanders throughout the galaxy considered their options. The ancient protocols had been clear. Human intervention should be invisible whenever possible. But those protocols assumed that humanity would remain hidden. Sir, she asked Admiral Cho Wan, what if they choose option 3? What if they force us to take control? The old admiral's expression was grave. Then we become everything we've tried to avoid. Rulers instead of guardians. Controllers instead of protectors. It would change us as much as it changes them. Engineer Nam Ho monitored communications from across the galaxy. Sir, we're receiving responses from the alien fleets. Most are requesting clarification on option 2. They want to know what sharing knowledge means, Dr. Bei Su interpreted. They're afraid we'll make them technologically dependent. Admiral Cho Wan nodded. Understandable. Transmit the basic technology sharing protocols. Medical advances, environmental restoration techniques, basic defensive systems. Nothing that could be weaponized against other species. Throughout human space, ancient computers began compiling information packages that would advance alien science by centuries, while maintaining the balance of power between species. What about military technology? Asked War Chief Gorthak. Will you share your weapons? We will share defensive technology, Admiral Cho Wan replied. Shields, armor, medical systems for your military personnel, but weapons technology stays with us. The galaxy doesn't need more efficient ways to destroy itself. High Arbiter Vextel consulted with his advisors before responding. If we choose alliance, what guarantee do we have that humanity won't eventually dominate us anyway? Ambassador Parkhana answered this question. The same guarantee you've had for the past 12,000 years. We could have ruled the galaxy at any point during that time. We chose not to. We prefer partners to subjects. The discussions continued for hours as alien leaders grappled with the revelation that their entire understanding of galactic history was wrong. Some species adapted quickly to the new reality. Others struggled with the knowledge that they had never been as independent as they believed. There's something else you should know, Dr. Bei Su announced during a lull in the negotiations. The signals we've been detecting from the Andromeda Galaxy? Those aren't from unknown aliens. They're from human colonies that never retreated during the Great Exodus. The chamber fell silent again as the implications sank in. How many? Prime Intellect Zeph asked. Approximately 40 million colonies across 12 galaxies, Dr. Bei Su replied casually. They've been expanding continuously for 12,000 years. Today's events will likely prompt them to send expeditionary fleets to re-establish contact. War Chief Gorthak stared at his displays in disbelief. You're saying there are more of you? Even more advanced than what we've seen? Much more advanced, Admiral Cho Wan confirmed. We've been isolated for 12 millennia. They've been improving their technology the entire time. The revelation that humanity's revealed fleet was actually the weakest part of their civilization sent shockwaves through every alien government. They had been debating whether to ally with or resist beings who were apparently the least advanced members of their species. Ambassador Parkhana looked around the chamber at the alien representatives. So, gentlemen and ladies, what will it be? Do we continue as hidden guardians, work together as open allies, or do we need to discuss option 3? The choice would determine the future of galactic civilization, and everyone in the chamber knew it. War Chief Gorthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. Around him, his officers prepared for what would be the easiest victory in Krellian military history. "Report," he commanded. "All 7 fleets are in position, War Chief," his tactical officer replied. 50,000 ships ready for coordinated strike. The humans have no escape routes. Gorthak's reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile. After centuries of careful expansion, his people would finally claim the rich worlds of human space. The Council called it protective custody, but Gorthak knew better. This was conquest, pure and simple. Across the galaxy, 6 other massive fleets held similar positions. The Void Consortium's dark ships hung in space like holes in reality. The Nexus Prime Armada gleamed with mechanical precision. The Collective's bioships pulsed with organic life. Each force was larger than most species could field for their entire military. On the bridge of the Council command ship, High Arbiter Vextal reviewed the final preparations. His crystalline form flickered with confident energy as status reports arrived from every fleet commander. "The human response?" he asked Prime Intellect Zeph. The machine consciousness displayed tactical data in geometric patterns. No unusual activity detected. Their known ships remain in standard patrol positions. No reinforcements moving toward threatened colonies. Their behavior suggests either complete surrender or complete delusion. Perhaps they truly believe their primitive vessels can resist our combined might, suggested Ambassador Krell from the Void Consortium. Some young species develop such arrogance before reality teaches them humility. High Arbiter Vextal agreed. In his 8,000 years of experience, he had seen many species face the Council's judgment. Most surrendered quickly when faced with overwhelming force. A few fought briefly before accepting defeat. None had ever emerged victorious. Meanwhile, throughout human space, something strange was happening. On colony worlds and space stations, human civilians were gathering in public areas. But instead of panic or fear, there was an atmosphere of anticipation. On New Geneva, thousands of people filled the main plaza. Someone had brought an old instrument, something called a guitar, and was playing songs that seemed familiar despite being in a language most people didn't recognize. Others joined in, humming melodies their grandparents had taught them. Similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. In the asteroid mining colonies, workers stopped their machines and looked toward the stars. On the agricultural worlds, farmers left their fields and stood in groups watching the sky. Children asked their parents what was happening, and the adults smiled mysteriously. "Why are they singing?" asked a Krellian intelligence officer, monitoring human communications. War Chief Gorthak studied the reports with growing confusion. Fear makes some species act strangely. Pay it no attention. But the songs weren't random. Transmitted across human space were lyrics that spoke of sleeping giants and the return of the old guard. They told stories of ancient protectors who would wake when their children called. Most aliens dismissed these as primitive folklore, but a few intelligence analysts noted the coordinated nature of the broadcasts. Back at the Grand Assembly, Ambassador Park Hana's ship had returned exactly on schedule. The small diplomatic vessel docked with the massive station, looking tiny and insignificant compared to the alien warships that surrounded the area. Park Hana and Commander Lee Jae walked through the station corridors with the same calm confidence they had shown 3 days earlier. Other species representatives watched them with mixtures of pity and curiosity. How could these humans remain so composed when facing extinction? The main assembly chamber was packed. Representatives from hundreds of species had come to witness what many considered a historic moment. The humbling of the aggressive newcomers, who had dared to challenge Galactic Order. High Arbiter Vextal's crystalline form glowed brighter as the humans entered. "Ambassador Park Hana, you return at the appointed time."
"Have you consulted with your Earth Command?"
"We have," Park Hana replied simply. "And their response to our generous offer of protective custody?" Park Hana looked around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from various species. Her expression remained pleasant and professional. "Earth Command has carefully considered your proposal," she said. "We appreciate the thought you've put into our welfare. However, we must respectfully decline." The chamber erupted. Alien voices rose in dozens of languages expressing shock, outrage, and disbelief. How could these humans reject such overwhelming force? War Chief Gorthak's roar cut through the noise. You choose extinction over wisdom, so be it. Our fleets are already in position. Surrender now or face the consequences. Actually, Parkhana said, raising her voice slightly to be heard over the commotion, we'd like to make a counter-proposal. The absurdity of the statement struck the chamber like a physical blow. A counter-proposal? From a species facing 50,000 hostile ships? You have 1 hour to withdraw all hostile fleets beyond the outer rim, Parkhana continued calmly. This is not a negotiation. Prime intellect. Zeph's geometric form shifted through patterns that indicated extreme confusion. Clarification requested. Your fleet strength is documented at 200 ships. Our combined forces number 50,000. Logic error detected in human assessment of situation. Parkhana smiled. Logic is indeed important. Perhaps you should check your long-range sensors. High Arbiter Vextal commanded his technicians to run deep scans of human space. The results came back within minutes and the readings were impossible. Sir, reported the chief sensor operator, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout human territory. The readings don't match any known technology. Explain, Vextal demanded. The signatures are huge, sir. Some are reading as larger than our biggest dreadnoughts. But there's nothing there. Just empty space. Ambassador Krell from the Void Consortium checked his own readings. Our sensors show the same anomalies. It's as if massive ships are present but somehow invisible to our instruments. Parkhana activated a small device, and holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber. The images showed real-time positions of every alien fleet in human space, with detailed information about ship types, weapon loads, and commander names. How do you have this information? War Chief Gorthak demanded. Our fleet positions are classified at the highest levels. We have very good sensors, Parkhana replied. Now about that withdrawal. You have 57 minutes remaining. The alien representatives looked at each other with growing unease. Something was very wrong with this situation, but none of them could identify exactly what. High Arbiter Vexital's crystalline form flickered rapidly, a sign of deep stress. You cannot threaten the combined might of 7 major powers with 200 primitive ships. You're absolutely right, Parkhana agreed. That would be impossible. She paused, letting the implications sink in. Fortunately, we have more than 200 ships. Commander Lee J activated another display, showing energy readings from throughout human space. The numbers were staggering, power signatures that dwarfed anything in the alien databases. How many more? Asked Prime Intellect Zeph. Although his computational matrices were already calculating probabilities he didn't want to believe. Parkhana looked directly at High Arbiter Vextal. 2,847 more. The chamber fell completely silent. The mathematics were simple and terrifying. Even if human ships were only equal to alien vessels, those numbers would make the battle even. But the energy reading suggested something far more advanced than anything the galactic powers possessed. Impossible, whispered War Chief Gorthak. Our intelligence services have monitored human space for decades. There are no hidden fleets. Your intelligence services are very good, Parkhana admitted, but they've been looking for ships that match your technology. They weren't looking for ships that are thousands of years more advanced. She gestured to the displays around the chamber. You might want to check your long-range sensors again. I believe you'll find some interesting changes occurring throughout human space. As if on cue, alarm signals began sounding on command ships throughout the alien fleets. Massive energy signatures were appearing everywhere, and they were bigger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The ancient fleet was revealing itself, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been hiding far more than anyone imagined. Captain Yoon so stood on the bridge of the eternal vigil as reality began to shimmer around them. For 12,000 years, the ancient flagship had waited in dimensional hiding, and now it was time to return to normal space. Beginning decloak sequence, announced Engineer Nam Ho from his station. All systems are operating at full capacity. Around them, the bridge hummed with power that seemed almost alive. The walls themselves appeared to be made of some material that absorbed and reflected light in impossible ways. Control surfaces responded to thought as much as touch, and the air carried a faint energy that made everyone feel more alert. Temporal displacement complete, reported the navigation officer. We are now in standard spacetime. Through the massive view screen, Yunso watched as the void of space suddenly filled with alien ships. The Krellian battle group that had been positioned to attack the human colony world of New Terra, now found themselves face to face with something they had never imagined. The Eternal Vigil was 15 kilometers long, but its size was only part of what made it impressive. The ship seemed to bend light around itself, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. Its hull was darker than space itself, yet somehow radiated power that could be felt across impossible distances. "Sir," called the communications officer, "the Krellian ships are trying to scan us. Their sensors can't get a proper reading." "Let them look," Admiral Chowan replied calmly from the command chair. "It's time they learned what real technology looks like." War Chief Gorthak stared at his tactical displays in complete confusion. His sensors showed a ship that was impossibly large, but the readings made no sense. The vessel appeared to be generating its own gravity field, bending space around itself in ways that violated everything he knew about physics. "What is that thing?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," his sensor operator replied, fear creeping into his voice. "It's not matching any technology in our databases. The energy output is, sir, its reading is higher than our entire fleet combined." Similar scenes were playing out throughout human space. Near the agricultural world of Green Valley, the bioships of the Collective found themselves surrounded by vessels that looked like living metal, their hulls rippling with patterns that seemed almost organic. The Ghost of Terra, a stealth carrier from the ancient fleet, materialized near the Nexus Prime Armada. The machine consciousness that controlled those ships immediately began analyzing the newcomer, but their computational systems couldn't process what they were seeing. "Analysis incomplete," Prime Intellect Zeph reported to the council chambers. "The human vessels operate on principles unknown to current science. Their technology appears to manipulate fundamental forces in ways we cannot comprehend." Back on the Eternal Vigil, Dr. Bei Su activated the ship's communication array. It was time to tell the galaxy the truth they had hidden for so long. "This is Dr. Bei Su of the Terran Archaeological Division, broadcasting on all frequencies," she announced. "For too long, the galaxy has lived with incomplete knowledge of its own history. Today, we correct that oversight." Throughout human space, alien commanders listened as holographic displays appeared on their ships, showing historical data that contradicted everything they thought they knew. "The ruins you have found on dead worlds throughout the galaxy," Dr. Bei Su continued. "The mysterious structures you attributed to unknown forerunner civilizations. Those were built by humans. Not recently, but over 12,000 years ago." The displays showed star maps spanning millennia. Human expansion across not just their galaxy, but several others. Colonies on millions of worlds. Technologies that made current alien science look primitive. War Chief Gorthak watched the data with growing horror. The ruins on his own homeworld, the ones that had inspired his people to reach for the stars, had been built by the ancestors of the species he was now threatening. "The energy signatures you detect in deep space," Dr. Bei Su continued. "The mysterious transmissions from the void. Those are human monitoring stations. Still operational after 12,000 years. We never left. We've been watching, waiting, protecting." On the bridge of a Void Consortium ship, Ambassador Krell stared at readings that showed human technology operating in dimensions his people had only theorized about. The humans weren't just more advanced, they were operating on completely different principles of physics. Near the colony world of Haven, a single human ship approached a formation of collective biovessels. The Dancing Phoenix was small compared to the alien ships, but when the collective tried to scan it, their organic sensors recoiled as if in pain. "What are they doing to our ships?" demanded the collective's hive mind representative. The answer came when the Dancing Phoenix released a single pulse of energy. It wasn't a weapon in any traditional sense, but every collective ship in the area suddenly found their bioneural networks overloaded with information they couldn't process. "They're not attacking us," realized one of the ship minds. "They're trying to communicate directly with our consciousness, but the data flow is too advanced for us to understand." Engineer Nam Ho monitored the fleet-wide activation from his position on the Eternal Vigil. Throughout human space, ancient ships were coming online and demonstrating capabilities that the alien powers couldn't comprehend. "The Iron Mountain is showing its defensive systems," he reported. "A Nexus Prime fleet just fired everything they have at it." On the tactical display, they watched as dozens of planet-killing weapons struck the ancient fortress ship. The energy output was enough to sterilize entire worlds, but when the light faded, the Iron Mountain was completely unharmed. How? Admiral Cho Wan asked, though he already knew the answer. The armor is made from compressed neutron star material, Nam Ho explained. The weapons aren't just bouncing off. They're being absorbed and converted into power for the ship's systems. Captain Yoon. So watched her tactical displays as more reports came in. Sir, the Worldbreaker is approaching the main Krellian formation. They're trying to surround it. War Chief Gorthak had committed his best ships to destroying what appeared to be a single human vessel. The Worldbreaker was large, but it was facing 50 of his most powerful dreadnoughts. All ships, target that vessel and fire everything, he commanded. The combined firepower of the Krellian battle group focused on the ancient human ship. Energy beams that could crack continents, missiles that could destroy moons, and plasma charges that burned hotter than stars all struck their target. When the assault ended, the Worldbreaker was not only undamaged, it had grown larger. Report, Gorthak roared. Sir, his tactical officer replied in a shaking voice. The human ship absorbed our weapons fire and converted it into mass. It's using our own attacks to make itself stronger. Dr. Besu's broadcast continued throughout the galaxy. The cosmic event that forced our retreat has passed. The galaxy has healed. Our long watch is ending, and we are ready to take our place as partners rather than hidden guardians. She paused, letting the implications sink in across thousands of worlds. But understand this. We have been protecting this galaxy for 12,000 years. Every species that developed under our watch did so because we ensured they had the chance. Every major conflict that mysteriously ended before it could destroy civilizations ended because we intervened. The revelation hit the alien powers like a physical blow. Their entire understanding of galactic history was wrong. They weren't the elder races. They were the children, protected and guided by beings they had just threatened with extinction. Admiral Cho Wan opened a direct channel to all the alien fleets. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of 12 millennia of human civilization. This is Admiral Cho Wan of the Terran Ancient Fleet. You came here to conquer what you believed was a young, weak species. Instead, you have threatened the guardians of galactic civilization. Throughout human space, the ancient ships began moving into formation. Their technology was so advanced that they seemed to bend reality around themselves as they traveled. You have one choice, Admiral Cho Wan continued. Withdraw your fleets and return to your home territories or face the consequences of your actions. We have protected this galaxy for 12,000 years. We will not allow it to be destroyed by those we have spent so long keeping safe. War Chief Gorthak looked at his tactical displays and realized that his 50,000 ships were facing an enemy whose single vessels could destroy his entire fleet. The humans hadn't been hiding because they were weak. They had been hiding because they were too powerful, and they wanted to give the younger races a chance to grow up before meeting their real guardians. The ancient fleet was fully revealed now, and the galaxy would never be the same.